All right, so we just zoomed through the logistical details of cars and we had a good time. But it's time to get a little more sketchy. Now, I know what you're thinking. I love reading abstract and jargony passages. How could it get any more interesting? Well, what it takes is some good old-fashioned drama. You know, like swashbuckling thrillers and heart-skipping romances. Love that movie. Because this is the Sketchy way, the method to our magic. We're going to help you make these challenging passages stick the first time you read them by visualizing characters and ideas and stories rather than reading for words alone. Since we're all in on drama, let's go ahead and bring in a theater stage. Hey, Corey, could we get a few spotlights? So just like great stories, every Cars passage will be about some number of characters. But a character in a passage like this isn't the same as a character in a play or a fiction story. Characters in a passage can be people, but they can also be institutions or ideas or any other thing you can slap a face on in your imagination, as long as they're distinct from other characters. And similar to how a plot thickens in a novel, keep an eye out for the introduction of new characters as the passages progress. When a character or idea is introduced, that sentence will be saying something about them, either some aspect about who they are or something that they've done, which we call the traits of those characters. Then there are relationships between characters. As soon as you put two characters in a sentence together, they're linked in some way. And this linkage can be as enemies or friends or just some kind of neutral similarity. And while each passage is a unique little snowflake, every passage has one character in common: the author, whoever wrote the passage. Test makers love writing questions about the author and what they think. Knowing the basic opinion that an author has about another character, for example, will guide you to a lot of correct answers when you're taking the MCAT. Okay, so we're looking for characters and how they relate and interact. But that's not all. You also need to hold on to that information as you read, and you'll definitely need to recall it for the questions. You might have heard of strategies for this, like writing outlines or highlighting keywords. And we're not going to knock any of those other approaches. If they work for you, great. But here's where we put the sketch in Sketchy. Let's visualize. As you read, we want you to create pictures in your mind. Use what the passage gives you to make representations of its ideas and arguments and characters. These can be more literal, so like maybe you represent the author as a character literally writing, or they can be more metaphorical. Like, maybe the author is a megaphone if they feel really strongly about something. You might also find it helpful to put these symbols in a physical space, like on a stage or on a map, or even in the rooms of your childhood home. So you can store your whole visualization in one place, at least for the 10 minutes you need to recall it to answer questions. Then you can erase it and start fresh for the next one. Thanks to thousands of years of evolution, visual information is way more easily stored and recalled than a bunch of words. So let's give it a try with a small snippet of a passage. The classic interpretation of Shakespeare's Hamlet rests upon the titular character's fundamental juvenile nature, whereas Dunser's modern treatise emphasizes the unfair and undue pressures of the extraordinary situation put upon him. Now, you don't need to come up with a visualization for every single word. And actually, we can just focus on the characters and their interactions to help us clarify the meaning of the passage and simplify the visualization all in one. Win-win, baby. You know, instead of a guy, let's imagine Hamlet as Hamlet. Oh, like one of those little medieval villages and actually, how about an amulet? Because that sort of sounds like Hamlet, right? Okay, maybe that's a stretch. Let's see. Ooh, could we get a pig? Yeah, a pig for Hamlet. And make it old black and white and cartoon style, since we're talking about the classic old-fashioned interpretation. And let's do a baby's outfit for Hamlet being juvenile. See how we tried out a few different options to see which one might fit the best? Even here at Sketchy, where we do this for a literal job, we often run through a few options. So don't be afraid to try out a couple of different visualizations as you're getting started in a passage. And we're not asking you to draw anything. So don't worry about making sweet art like this. Okay, anyway, for the other argument, we'll use another copy of Hamlet the Pig. But this one is modern, And cool, so frickin' cool. The guy with this perspective is named Dunster. So you could imagine him as a dumpster, or a pig in a dumpster. Or if you think his argument is trash, he could be a dumpster fire. Whatever it takes to get a visual mental tag for each character. If the passage goes on to say that one of these views wins out over the other, you could imagine the two pigs fighting and one coming out ahead. If these views each gain multiple additional traits or relationships along the way, the two pigs could gain other attributes or accessories or interact with other characters. You can just keep adding and adding until you get to the end of the passage. Speaking of the end, let's send these little piggies on their way and wrap up with a quick summary. As you read, identify the key characters of the passage and remember that these might be ideas or even the author. Choose a visualization for each character and place them in a setting. It might take a try or two to land on the right symbol, but don't worry about it being perfect. Often your first thought is the one that you'll find the most memorable. Start to connect them based on the relationships in the text. You can always update your symbols as the passage progresses. When you reach the end of the passage, give your visualization a once-over before you check out the questions. And if all else fails, just remember, the more drama and conflict, the better.